Hello. Today we are going to talk about graphing lines from slope-intercept form. But before we talk about actually graphing, we need to talk about what is slope-intercept form and some other kind of things. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff before we really get in to actually graphing from slope-intercept form. So first thing is you're going to practice counting rise over run when you're given an equation or a line. And so I don't want you to use the formula y2 over y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I want you to actually count rise over run. So pause the video, take a couple minutes, and find the slope. And then when you come back, we will check our answers. Okay, so as a quick reminder, rise over run means you either go up or down first. You count up or down first, and then you count either left or right. Now, if you count up, you're counting a positive number. If you count down, you're counting a negative. If you count left, you're counting a negative, and if you count right, you're counting a positive. Another reminder, just generally, if your line is moving from left to right and increasing, so like that, it's going to have a positive slope. And if your line from left to right is moving in the downwards direction, it's going to have a negative slope. So when you find your rise over run, those values, and simplify, you should get either a positive or negative answer. So let's look at number one. Before I even do anything, I could tell you right now, when I go along this line from left to right, it's going in the downwards direction. So my slope better be negative. When I simplify, I can pick any 2 points that are on this line. Any 2 points, meaning any two points where the grid marks intersect and the line goes through exactly. I have a bunch of points that are drawn for me, so I'm going to use this one and this one. I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to count down 2. So because I went down, that's -2. So my slope is going to be -2 over, and then I'm going over 1 to the right, so that's in the positive direction. So -2 over 1, that simplifies to -2. So my slope is -2. I could also think of this as if I started at this bottom point here, I could go up a +2. So that would be +2, but then I would go to the left 1, so that's a -1, so over -1. Either way, I still get -2 as my slope when I simplify. All right, number 2. Again, I have some points that are kind of drawn in. Notice the line is going through the grid marks exactly. So that's how I know exactly where the points are. You'll see in numbers 1, 2, and 3, the points are drawn for me. In 4, 5, and 6, we're going to have to find them ourselves. But just counting rise over run, let me start here. I would count down 1, so -1. And I'm going to count over to the 1, 2, 3, 4, to the left 4. Because I'm going to the left, it's going to be negative. Now, a negative over a negative is a positive. So my slope should be positive 1/4. And I can double check. It should be, because if I go along this line from left to right, I'm going in the up direction. Number 3, again, pick any 2 of these points. I'll just pick this one and this one. I'm going to go down 2. So that's -2. And I'm going over 1 to the right. -2 over 1 is -2. So my slope is -2 there. You're going to notice that the slope in number 1 and number 2 are the same. In other words, the steepness of the lines are the same, but they're not the same lines. They don't go through all the same exact points. For example, this one goes through the point like 0, 0, the origin. This does not. So they're two different lines. They just have the same slope, and that can happen. All right, let's look at number 4. Find 2 points that this line goes through exactly. The points are not drawn for you. You have to look, where does the red line go through the grid marks exactly? So like here, for example, it gets really close to the intersection of those grid marks, but it doesn't go through exactly. It does go through right there. And even down here, look at this. It looks so close, but it does not go through those grid marks exactly. So it intersects here at this point right here. So I'm going to use those 2 red dots, and I'm going to count rise over run. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I went up, so my slope is positive 4 over, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I went to the left, it's a negative. So my slope is negative 4 over 5, because a positive over negative simplifies to a negative. And if I look at the line from left to right, it's going down. Let me look at number 5. I see a bunch of times where my line goes through the grid marks exactly. It happens there, here, 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 and here. Pick any of those 2 to count rise over run. So I'll just use these 2. I go up 1, 2, and then over 1. So positive 2, positive 1, because I went to the right. My slope is 2. I want to show you something. What if I had used like this point and this point? Watch. I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 over 1, 2, 3, both positive because I went up and to the right. 6 over 3 is 2. So no matter what 2 points I use, I'm going to ultimately simplify and get the same slope. Number 6, I need to find points. The line goes through the grid marks there. It goes through here. Looks like it goes through there. So find 2 points. Count rise over run and simplify. I can go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to the right 2. So it's a negative 5 because I counted down. Positive 2 because I counted to the right. My answer is negative 5 over 2. Because a negative divided by a positive. Or I could have gone up 5 and to the left. It could have been a positive over a negative. But ultimately, it's going to simplify to a negative. All right. So that was a nice little warm-up. We are going to talk, kind of introduce slope-intercept form. We're going to write equations in slope-intercept form, and then ultimately we're going to graph. So get out your toolkit, copy down these definitions. So slope-intercept form looks like this: y equals mx plus b. The slope is m, and the y-intercept is b. So this m is the slope, and we're going to get the y-intercept from this b. But let's talk about a y-intercept real fast, okay? So you have another space for a definition. Here's your second definition. 2 definitions. The first one, slope-intercept form. The second one is y-intercept. So the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So I want to talk to you about that real fast. If I were to draw an x and y axis, here's x, here's y. Okay, and if I were to just draw a line, here's my line, and say to you, where's the y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? That happens right here at this point, right? What are the coordinates of that point? X comma y. It's the point 0, 2, right? So the y-intercept is a point, 0, 2. Let me draw another line. Where does it cross the y-axis? Right down here. This is the point. X value is 0, -1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, -4. There's the y-intercept, right? How about this? There's another line. Where's the y-intercept? Crosses right here. That's the point, 0, 0. You're going to notice that in all three of these y-intercepts, where the line crosses the y-axis, it's always 0, a number, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, -4. Because if it's on the y-intercept, if the line is on the y-axis, the x value has to be 0. The y-axis, we move to the left or right, 0, right? So the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis, but you're always going to write your y-intercept in the form 0, a number, okay? So your number, b, comes from the equation, the slope-intercept form equation, but you're writing your y-intercept 0, b. And then the x and the y in the blue equation there, slope-intercept form, are literally the letters x or y. All right, let's keep going. So first thing we need to do is we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept of the line. Remember, we're using y equals mx plus b. So if I look at number 1, it's y equals 2x plus 7. What's in front of the x? A 2. So the slope is 2. The b value is 7, so my y-intercept is the point 0, 7. Remember, your y-intercept has to be 0, b, so don't just write 7. Number 2, what's in front of the x? That 1/3. So my slope is 1/3. My y-intercept is the point 0, -3. See that b value is negative there? Number 3, this is not quite y equals mx plus b. I can reorder the 1 and the -2/5x to be y is equal to -2/5x plus 1. Now my slope is in front of the x, -2/5, and my y-intercept is the point 0, +1. All right, so now we can identify the slope and y-intercept of a line. You do a little bit of practice. Pause the video, try these, and then when you unpause, we'll check them. All right, so let's check some of these. Some of these are pretty straightforward. Notice when I write my slopes, I don't include the x. It's just the number in front of the x. Now, number 3, look, I just have y equals 7x. So it's kind of like I don't have like a b. Well, if I don't have a b, that b was 0, right? So the slope is 7 because that's the number in front of the x. The y-intercept is the point 0, 0. Number 4, I can just reverse these, right? Reverse the order of my terms. And then I can get my slope and my y-intercept. Number 5 is another tricky one. Y equals 9. Notice there's no x. So if my equation is y is equal to mx plus b, and there's no x, that meant that I had to take the x and multiply it by 0. 0 times x is just 0. It would kind of get rid of that x. And my b value here is that 9. So my slope here is 0, and my y-intercept is 0, 9. And then number 6 is another one that's pretty straightforward. All right, so check your work. Pause the video if you need to. Check your work. Okay, now we're going to talk about taking equations and converting them into slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. In other words, y is by itself. So in order to convert to slope-intercept form, all you have to do is solve the equation for y. Get y by itself. So number 1, how do we get y by itself? We want to add the 3 to both sides to get y by itself. So we have y is equal to, now over here, 4x and 3, they're not like terms. They can't be combined. And so I'm going to write y is equal to 4x plus 3. Now from here, if I wanted to, I could identify the slope. The slope is 4. It didn't ask me to, so I won't write it down, but the slope is 4. M equals 4, and the y-intercept is the point 0, 3. So number 2, get y by itself. All right, well, I got to get rid of this 4x. I'm going to subtract 4x first. 4x minus 4x cancels, and I have negative 3y equals, now the 12 and the 4x are not like terms, so I can't add them together. I'm going to add I'm going to write negative 4x first plus 12, because ultimately I want my answer to be like y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Hopefully you remember doing this. The negative 3's cancel. We have y is equal to, now we're going to split this up. Negative 4x over negative 3 plus 12 over negative 3. Negative 4 over negative 3 turns into a positive 4 over 3. And then if we have like that 4x on the top, that x can kind of come next to it. So it's negative 4 over 3x. And positive 12 over negative 3 turns into a negative 4. That's y equals mx plus b. So the slope is 4 over 3, and the y-intercept is negative 4. 0, negative 4. All right. So pause the video here and try some of these problems. When you unpause, we can check them. All right, so to get y by itself, got to get rid of that 2. So subtract 2 from both sides. Negative x minus 2. What's the number in front of that x? There's just a negative sign. Remember, it's a negative 1. So if I were to identify the slope, it would be negative 1, y-intercept 0, negative 2, right? All right, number 4. We want to get x by itself. So we're going to add x. I'm sorry, we wanted to get y by itself, I meant to say. We're going to get rid of the x by adding x, add x. 4 and x are not like terms, but I'm going to write the x first because we want y equals mx plus b, right? We want to get rid of the 2. This means 2 times y, so we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So we have y is equal to x over 2 plus 4 over 2 when we break it up. Now, what's in front of this x here? There's an invisible 1, right? So it's really y is equal to 1/2 x plus 4 over 2 is 2. That's y equals mx plus b. So the slope is 1/2, the y-intercept 0, 2. All right. Some of these are going to be a little bit tougher. You might have to clear out some fractions first. So like number 5, that least common denominator is 3. So we might want to multiply every term by 3. So 1/3 x times 3 plus 2y times 3 equals 7 times 3. So we have 1/3, 1/3 times 3, 3 over 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3x plus 2y times 3 is 6y equals 7 times 3, which is 21. So 3 over 3 is 1x plus 6y equals 21. Now we're solving for y. So now we've gotten rid of the fraction. Let's solve for y. We're going to subtract 1x from both sides. We have 6y is equal to negative 1x plus 21. Now get the y by itself. Divide by 6, divide by 6. That cancels. Y is equal to negative 1x over 6 plus 21 over 6. Now, neither of these go in even, but I can simplify. So negative 1 over 6x plus 3 goes in to 21 and 6. So that'll be 7 over 2. All right, let's try number 6. Again, we have that fraction. Multiply by the least common denominator. So negative 4 over 5y times 5 over 1 equals 2x times 5 minus 1 times 5. So on the top here, you have 4 times 5. So negative 20 over 5 times 1, which is 5, equals 2x times 5 is 10x. Negative 1 times 5 is minus 1. So negative 20 over 5, negative 4y equals 10x minus 1, right? Now, all we have to do to get the y by itself is get rid of that negative 4. Divide by negative 4. Y is equal to 10x over negative 4 minus 1 over negative 4. And simplify. So y is equal to 10 and 4. 2 can go into both of them. So we have 5 over negative 2x. And a negative over a negative is a positive 1 over 4. See this negative over negative? There's my final answer. So my slope is negative 5 over 2. My y-intercept is 0, 1/4. All right, so some of these are kind of tricky. Again, pause the video, work it out, and then when you get back, we'll check answers. All right, so let's check some of these. So number 7, even though it has a fraction in it, remember, I'm trying to get y by itself. I don't need to get rid of the fraction. All I have to do is subtract 3 from both sides. Y is equal to negative 1/3 x minus 3. So even if you cleared the fraction first, you hopefully should still get that same answer. Number 8. Now, I do want to get rid of this fraction, so if I wanted to, I could just multiply everything by 3. So we have 2/3 y times 3 over 1 minus x times 3 equals negative 7 times 3. So multiplying these fractions, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, minus x times 3 is 3x equals negative 21. 6 over 3 is 2y minus 3x equals negative 21. And again, remember, we want y equals mx plus b, so we're going to add 3x. So we have 2y equals 3x minus 21. To get the y by itself, we're going to divide by 2. Y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 21 over 2, and nothing can really be simplified, so we're just going to leave it like that. Number 9, everything's just on the left side. We just need to get rid of anything that's not the y, right? So it doesn't matter what order you do these in. Oops, so it should be y plus 7 equals 9x. But ultimately, you're going to add the 9x, subtract the 7. So you get y is equal to 9x minus 7. And then number 10 hopefully shouldn't be as bad. Subtract the 8x. So you have 2y equals negative 8. Oh, that should be an 8. Negative 8x minus 16. Divide by 2. Y is equal to negative 8 over 2x minus 16 over 2. And when we simplify that, we should have gotten y equals negative 4x minus 8. All right, so hopefully by now you're pretty good at converting equations to slope-intercept form. Now, here's what we've been waiting for. We're going to graph. So here's your steps. They're fill in the blank. Please fill these in. And as you fill these in, I'm going to model graphing an equation for you. So if I wanted to graph y equals 3x plus 1, this is in slope-intercept form. Step 1, I would identify the slope, in other words, m, and I would identify the y-intercept, in other words, 0, comma b of the line. So y equals 3x minus 1. My slope is 3, my y-intercept 0, comma, negative 1. Hopefully we're good at that now, right? We're going to plot a point at the y-intercept. In other words, like 0, comma, b. So I'm going to plot this y-intercept 0, comma, negative 1. So on my grid, 0, comma, negative 1 is right there. And remember, it's the y-intercept, so it should be on the y-axis. It is, right? And now, step 3, I'm going to use the slope, rise over run, to find another point on the line. Here's the part that people often mess up. We want to make sure we begin counting at the y-intercept. So first of all, I'm going to start counting at this red dot that I already drew, and I'm going to count rise over run. Well, notice that my slope is only m equals 3, so I need it to be a fraction. If it's not a fraction, if it's a whole number, just put it over 1, right? And if my slope is positive 3 over positive 1, I would go up 1, 2, 3, and then I would go to the right 1, and I would put another point. So I'm on step 3, use the slope, rise over run to find another point on the line. Notice I began counting at my first dot, that y-intercept. Well, look, I can keep going up 1, 2, 3, and then over another 1 to the right. And if I keep going up 3 and over 1, these points are all going to be in a line. I want to show you something else too. If I start at that y-intercept and I go down 3, so that's like a negative 3, but then if I count 1 to the left, going to the left is a negative 1, that point is still in line with the others because a negative 3 over a negative 1 is a positive 3, right? So I could keep going down 3 and over 1, down 3 over 1. All these points are in a line. So to make my line, I'm going to connect them, and I'm going to draw arrows at both ends. So one more last blank to fill in, indicating that that line goes on forever. There's my line. Here's your steps. So make sure you have these steps written down. Let's do some practice problem. So we're going to find the slope in the y-intercept, then we're going to graph each line. So number 1, again, y equals mx plus b. My slope is that 2 that's in front of the x. My y-intercept, I know the b value is 7, but my y-intercept is 0, 7. I'm going to plot the point at the y-intercept first. So the point 0, 7 is right there. And if my slope is 2, I need to make it a fraction. Let me make it 2 over 1. I'm on step 3. I'm going to count rise over run. I'm going to start at that red point that I already drew. I'm going to go, I'm going to go up 2 and over 1 to the right because it's a positive 2, meaning go up, and a positive 1, meaning go to the right. But I kind of ran out of room. So remember, I could also go down 2 and to the left 1 because the negative over negative is also a positive. So going down 2 and to the left 1, look, that works too. I'm going to keep going. Down 2 to the left, because then I'm going to make sure that my line is perfectly straight. Now I have all these points. I'm going to connect them with a line, draw arrows at the end, and I'm done. All right, number 2. Identify the slope, 1/3. Identify the y-intercept, 0, -3. That's step 1. Write that stuff down. Step 2 is to draw a point at the y-intercept. So the point 0, -3 is right there. That's my y-intercept. That's where I'm going to start counting for step 3 to use my slope. Now, check it out. My slope is 1/3. So I could go up 1 and 3 to the right, or I could go down 1 and 3 to the left, right? Because a negative over negative or a positive over positive gives me a positive 1/3. So let me go up 1 and then 3 to the right. Up 1, 3 to the right. Up 1, 3 to the right. Or I'm going to use that negative over a negative to go down 1, 3 to the left. Down 1, 1, 2, 3 to the left. Down 1, 1, 2, 3 to the left. There you go. Connect them and draw arrows on step 4. All right, number 3, my slope is -2/5. My y-intercept is 0, 1. That's step 1, just identifying the slope and the y-intercept. Step 2, plot a point at the y-intercept, right? 0, 1. There you go. Now, in order for my slope to be -2/5, it could be -2 over +5, or it could be +2 over -5, right? Meaning, if it's -2 over +5, I would go down 2, because that's -2, but then I go to the right 5. Right? So I could go down 2 and to the right 5, because that's a -2 over a +5. Or I could go, starting at my y-intercept again, I could go +2, so up 2, -5 goes to the left. So if I go up 2, I have to go to the left. And that's how you can see when I connect these now, from left to right, my line is going down. It has that negative slope to it. Okay, here's 3 more for you to try. So pause the video, try these, and then when you come back, we'll check them. All right, let's check these. So number 4, my slope is -3/4. My y-intercept is 0, 7. So remember, we start at the y-intercept. It's right here. And remember, my slope, in order to be a -3/4, it could be a -3 over a +4, or it could be a +3 over a -4. It doesn't matter which one. If I start with the -3 over +4, I go down 3, 4 to the right. Down 3, 4 to the right. If it's a +3, I go up 3, but then over a -4, so to the left. And then I can connect them. And make sure you have arrows. You will lose credit if you don't have arrows, because your line goes on forever. All right, number 5. Y equals 1/2 x minus 3. So your slope is 1/2. Your y-intercept, 0, -3. 1/2 could be +1 over +2, right? That's how we normally think of it. But don't forget, it could also be -1 over -2. So my y-intercept, 0, -3 is right there. And we can either go up 1 and 2 to the right, up 1, 2 to the right, up 1, 2 to the right, up 1, 2 to the right. Or we could go -1 and -2 to the left. -1, -2 to the left. -1, 2 to the left. And when we connect them, that's what our line should look like. All right, number 6 might be a little bit trickier. Y equals -2x. Remember, we did one like this before. If there's no like plus b, +7, -2, whatever, we assume it's a +0, right? So my slope is -2. My y-intercept, 0, 0. So I start at the y-intercept. -2 is -2 over 1, right? So it could be, I'll rewrite this, -2 over 1. So it could be a -2 over a +1, or it could be a +2 over a -1. So -2 goes down, +1 goes to the right. -2, 1, oh goodness, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. I have to go down 2, and to the right 1. Down 2 and to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. Or I could go up 2 and to the left 1. So I could connect these points, draw arrows. There's my line. All right, and then that's it for graphing equations. Now you know how to graph equations in slope-intercept form and everything that goes along with it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.